What's going on, guys? Top Tier Gaming here, and today I'm coming at you with an SAO deck profile mostly focused around Asuna. I can't call it Asuna waifu because there are a couple non-Asuna cards in here, but that was just to make it as competitive as possible. I say competitive in a sense that I would feel fine taking this to any like high-level locals or even event, because I think it's actually really good. Has a lot of really good ways to end the game and just gain advantage over it as well. So yeah, let's just get into the deck profile. Starting off, we have 4 of this Asuna. So this is the quote-unquote Riki for the deck, and it's a super good one. So on play, mill 2. If there's a climax, she gains +2 soul, which is really good for pushing for damage, and the mill 2 effect is really good for just thinning your deck. And she's a salvage Riki, so she's able to give herself more targets essentially. And then her Riki effect is, when she's reversed, you can take the top card of your stock and put it into your clock, and then salvage an Asuna, Kirito, or Yui. Yui's not very relevant, we don't run any Yuis. But this is really good because it's, on reverse Riki, so oftentimes you're having her reversed when you're taking damage, and the fact that she sends the top card of your stock to clock instead of the top card of your deck means you're never going to clock yourself a climax, which could cancel damage. And then she sends herself to memory, which is just even more compression. So this card is crazy. One thing to note is that she says Asuna, but it's only for her IGN. It doesn't get like Asunas that are in real life. She has to be in a game. It's only relevant for 2 cards in the deck, and I will bring that up when we get to them. But yeah, 4 of this Asuna Riki. Next up, 2 of this Asuna. So this is, like, the more I playtest with this card, the better it gets. Like, I would consider playing this in real meta SAO even, because it's just so good. So on play, you can take 2 character cards from your waiting room, shuffle them into your deck, and she gains +1 soul. This is really good like late game if you have like 1 card in deck. You can of course put 2 more in there and you get 2 extra cards of compression when you're swinging and going into refresh. If you have 2 cards in deck, you can make it 4, play a climax, swing 3 times, and then you get the climax in waiting room before refresh. So deck manipulation is very good. And then her second effect is when she's reversed, you reveal the top card of your deck. If it's level 1 or higher, she goes to stock. So she can be very good because she can manipulate your deck, gain you extra compression, then she can go to stock, which is super useful for using a bunch of your effects and just gaining more stock overall. She becomes compression herself. We only played 2 because we were tight on space, and the fact that if you don't use her first effect and she misses her second effect, she's essentially a 1k vanilla, which is not ideal, but she is super good, so we do play 2 of her. Then 2 of this Asuna. So this is the main source of hand filtering in the deck. It's a very cool card. On attack, you discard a card to select a character you control and bounce it back to hand. This is really good because you have quite a few effects with on-play effects. And it's like a pseudo-runner in a sense where you can deny reverses by bouncing your characters back. And it's really like unique hand filter. So we do play 2 of this to be able to get rid of climaxes if we're flooded, and essentially deny reverses for our opponent. 3 of this Asuna Brainstormer. So this card's great. It's a 500 global on your turn, which helps you get over things. And then she's a pay 1, tap 2 Brainstormer, search Brainstormer. The tap 2 isn't bad because you have 2 like dedicated slots to your back row, and the other one doesn't need to tap itself ever. So the tap 2 isn't like very relevant as a hindrance. So it's completely fine, and the 500 global is great once again. Like, this isn't a very Asuna like waifu focused centric deck, but like this is a Brainstormer I would consider playing like any SAO because it's actually very good. Next up, 1 of the 2 non-Asuna cards in the deck is 4 of this Kirito, and he is essential for a level 3 Asuna that we are choosing to play. So he's kind of, we're forced to run him in that sense, but he's also just an amazing card. He's a clean cut, my bad, and he becomes a beat stick when you're going second. You have a lot of cards that you wouldn't mind being in the back row, specifically like this Brainstormer and the card that's coming up next. So you can get like free attacks and save characters and stuff. Clean cuts are just very powerful. So yeah, 4 of him. And lastly, 3 of this Lifa. It's very hard to call your SAO deck competitive without this card, especially this one that tends to like to push for damage a little bit. This allows you pretty much to play climaxes at non-1s, which is great because it also is just like a free brainstormer, for just getting pieces you need, and just gives more value to climaxes. Also, when you use an act, which is your brainstormer here, or a backup, you can give 1k somewhere, so just a very, very powerful card. And these are the only 2 cards in the deck that are not Asuna in some capacity. So it's not really Asuna waifu, at least not in a pure sense, because these 2 cards are in here, but to make it as competitive as possible, I did feel like these were sort of mandatory. And that is 18 zeros. On to level 1s, we have 4 of this Asuna. So this is, in my opinion, the best Asuna Climax combo. You have a couple of options at level 1. You could choose the new one, or I guess it's not new, it's from Ordinal Scale as well. But that one, I just don't like some of the demerits the card has, and this like thins your deck and can add any card, which is really cool because you can technically add climaxes, which is great in some scenarios, but just the deck thinning and the fact that she's a +1 climax, super, super useful. Her power boost effect, the thing that makes her 6k, like she comes into play and she gains 1500, so that gets her to 6k. But where that becomes relevant is with your maid Asuna I showed at level 0. You know, this is an on-play effect, and then she becomes very tiny. You can like bounce her back and get the power again next turn. So it's a nifty little thing. But yeah, this is the climax we choose to play. She comes with the wind trigger. Just overall, I feel she's the best Asuna climax combo. And then 2 of this Asuna. So this is 100% the best card in the deck. I haven't read it. I don't know what it does. But just by looking at it, you know it's the best card in the deck. No questions asked. And I think that's all I'm going to explain. Alright, that was a joke. But this card is pretty good. Essentially, if she attacks last, she's 7k. When another one of your characters attacks, she gains 1500. And then she has Hand on Course. So 7k on offense and just sustainability. She gives value to like useless zeros in your hand or cards you don't want to play at the time, and just maintains board presence, so you always have like a 1 to swing with. We only run 2, despite her being obviously the best card in the deck, because she kind of conflicts with herself, because you can't have multiple of her on the field, otherwise 1 is, you know, obviously less optimal. But yeah, we definitely play 2 of this card. But this is an Asuna like in real life. This is Asuna not in a game, so you can't search her with the Ricky, but she is still an avatar net, so you can search her with most other things. Next up, 2 of this Asuna. So it might seem kind of crazy to play this card because this card is from like the first Order Online trial deck, but I feel like it's still relevant. As I said when I was explaining the Kirito at level 0, we're running him for a specific level 3, and the level 3 gains value from having cards that are like 1 cost. So we're sort of playing this for that, but she also is just really good at winning her lane, up to twice per turn. She gains 1k when you use an act. So often she's 1175, but sometimes on defense if you use like 2 backups, she can hit like 10-5 on defense, which is crazy. But yes, this card is pretty good at winning its lane, just sort of being a wall, and gains value from one of the level 3s we're running. And then 3 of this backup. I was playing 4 because this card's crazy, right? Like this card is good enough to be in competitive SAO. One of the best 1/0-2k backups of all time, because she can split her power. But like, the reason I cut her down to 3 is because my level 1 actually, for the most part, can't support her. Like, this becomes 4/5, this is 4k on defense, so if I don't have this on the field, at level 1, I'm not backing anything up. So she became, like, just a card I would see too much of. Past level 1, she's amazing, and she's just overall a very good card to deny reverses, and, like, just open slots on your opponent's field. Like, backups are just good, right? So, and that's it. So this is 7, 9, 11 level 1s. Kind of small level 1 count for what I'm used to playing in, like, old SAO, but they definitely do what they are intending to do. On to level 2s, 1 of this Asuna. This thing's cool because if your Ricky's in memory, she gains 5k power and a soul. So she's essentially just a 2/1 or 9/5 with 2 soul, so you can swing for like extra damage. And I felt that was a good one of for the level 3's effect. And then we actually played 2 of this Asuna. So she gains 500 for each of your other Avatar net characters, I believe, and she goes to 9k base is essentially, yeah, Avatar net. 9k base is essentially what she's good at, and 219k is fine. But she also climax combos with the wind trigger that your level 1 climax combos with. And she gains plus 4k and a soul. So she essentially becomes like 14k on offense. Pretty much she's like anti-early play, right? She's reversing what she's fighting. at least for most early plays, and she's swinging for 3, so she's able to push for damage quickly at level 2, while also like reversing things and being quite decent on defense as well. Pretty high value, like 2-1. That's it for level 2, is just 3. But also at level 2, we are usually playing this Asuna right here, this Asuna and Kirito. So this card's really cool. If you have the Kirito in your clock, you can play this at level 2, it's -1 level. On play, draw a card, and then you can select one cost 1 or lower character and just play it for free, essentially saving you a stock to play a card that's probably going to win its lane. So pretty stock efficient, and it +1's on play, which is super, super good because I wanted an early play that, you know, constantly kept me the advantage I may need going into my level 3. And then it gains 500 for every other, so like 11k base. Overall, a pretty decent early play. It's not like the craziest thing, but it definitely does what it needs to do, which is win lanes at level 2, gain you advantage, and, you know, it's pretty stock efficient. Next up, 3 of this Asuna. So she's a healer. She's the healer of the deck. That's the most important part. But she also has a climax combo that's like super, super fun, and it's like a pretty cool effect that Bushiroad gave it. So when you have Mother's Rosario in the climax zone, on attack, I believe it is okay. It's discard 2 cards on attack. You mill the top 11 cards of your deck, and then for each soul trigger you reveal, you deal that much damage. So it's not the greatest climax combo because you don't exactly know how much damage you're pushing for. Like, I've had this card deal 1, I've had this card deal 9. So it's not consistent, right? But if you need to push for damage, you can like hope for 3 or 4, maybe it sticks. It's a really fun climax combo, but what's really good at is actually thinning your deck. Like, say you went into your second deck or third deck and you like triggered 3 off the top, or drew too many, or you had a lot of cancels going into it. She can actually like reset your deck, essentially, just mill a lot of cards. So she's a super fun climax combo, but even when you're not using the climax combo, she is a healer. So at the very least, she's a vanilla healer, which the deck desperately needed. And then 4 of this Asuna. I'm super, super happy that Alicization gave Asuna this, because honestly, if you were building Asuna waifu, you didn't have like the greatest level 3s to work with, but this is a Musashi, which is very, very good, because it's just a climax combo-less great game ender, so very nice. And then on your turn, she's also 12k base, which is bigger than Musashi. She can side attack, which is pretty relevant at level 3. I feel like side attacking is almost most relevant at level 3 when you're pushing for exact damage. But yes, 4 of this Asuna, because she's a Musashi. But important to note, this is also Asuna like in real life. She is not in any game here, so your Riki cannot search this Asuna, which is unfortunate, but usually you'll be searching her with your Brainstormer and things, and your Amagi Lifa. So 10 level 3s. Overall, I feel like the level 3 is quite good, especially with the addition of the Musashi. And then on to climaxes, 4 wind trigger that combos with your level 1 and your level 2, so cool that we have 2 climax combos with it. And then 4 Stock Soul, Mother's Rosario. Stock Soul is like really good, but Wind Trigger, I kind of wish this was like Blast Trigger or Shot Trigger, whatever you want to call it. Wind Trigger has matchups where it's super good, and then it has matchups where it's like very, very inconsistent against. But overall, these are really good climaxes. I love Stock Soul. Just generate more compression, and really is really good with this card as well, because you can just fuel her for free. But yeah, just 2 very good climaxes and good climax combos. So yes, that was the SAO Asuna-centric deck profile. I don't want to call it Asuna Waifu because it's, you know, it has non-Asuna cards, and some people will be like, this is not a pure Asuna Waifu deck. But it is super fun to play, and I think it's actually really good. It's a very good, like, Soul Rush deck. It doesn't play Soul Rush in the sense, like, it's really memey, though. It actually can maintain all of its advantage while like pushing for damage, which is super good. You can skamaz wins with this deck very quickly. But yes, hope you enjoyed. This was Top Tier Gaming. If you're looking for Weiss Schwarz content, I do upload videos every other day. And yeah, hope you liked the video. Subscribe. This was Top Tier Gaming. Bye, YouTube.